More motions in the Freddie Gray case. Defense attorneys are still pushing for sanctions against prosecutors who they say have continually withheld evidence crucial to the case. The latest evidence centers around witness testimony that says Gray was acting aggressively and shaking the police van the day of his arrest. Defense attorney Kurt Nachman with Ian Lawyers is joining us this morning to look more closely at the case. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So this particular evidence, why is this so crucial for the defense?
Well, any evidence that's exculpatory towards the behavior of the police officers is going to be important for them. Exculpatory evidence is anything that tends to show that the officers did not commit the crimes as charged. And if Mr. Gray, as the defense attorneys allege, was behaving in a manner that would be consistent with him harming himself and not the officers harming him, it could mitigate their guilt or decrease their guilt.
Since this has been going on, there have been repeated concerns about what has and has not been turned over. Is that usual in a case? I mean, I know you turn over new things as they're discovered, but the defense says, hey, you knew all of this way back when and didn't turn it over when you were supposed to.
It's certainly problematic. You know, I was a prosecutor in the city. The Baltimore City, because of the nature and the volume of the cases that you have in Baltimore City, it is sometimes difficult to make sure that you gather every police report, every piece of material, every witness that the police officers talk to, and appropriately turn it over to the defense. But the bottom line is the defense is entitled to anything that's exculpatory. Supreme Court case law, state case law, all makes it very clear that they are entitled to exculpatory evidence. And if you want to win and preserve your conviction for the long term, you've got to make sure you turn things over appropriately. As a defense attorney, I do occasionally have to file motions to compel. It's not something that's totally uncommon, but you don't like doing it as a defense attorney because it means the prosecutor's not doing their job.
The defense just filed a new motion to have the cases moved out of the city. Again, the judge already said we're not going to do that. So what is the basis for this new motion that they're asking for? Why do they think something will change?
There was an article that ran in the Baltimore Sun this weekend that talked about how some of the statements that the officers had made. And the distinction that the defense attorneys appeared to be drawing was that the judge's ruling and many of the prosecutors' arguments to keep the case in Baltimore was because of the fact that the officers' statements hadn't been made public. A statement of one officer, generally speaking, is not going to be admissible against any of the other officers unless that officer defendant is testifying. And that's actually why the judge ruled for severance in the cases. And so now that these statements are out in public, the defense attorneys are questioning whether or not, you know, the jurors are going to be able to separate that information if they're asked to conduct a fair and impartial trial.
That wouldn't be the case for any jurisdiction that you send it to? I mean, everybody has seen the articles and the information.
I sort of agree with that as well. I think that the judge may not make a decision on that right now. I think more likely than not, we're going to see Judge Williams just reserve a decision until they conduct jury selection, until they conduct voir dire, and they see how it goes.
Yes or no, that first trial will happen on November 30th? Likely, not likely?
Maybe.
Maybe, okay. Good answer. All right, well, coming up, we are continuing to follow Hurricane Joaquin, which is making its way over the Bahamas right now. It is still unsure whether we're going to see any impacts of it here in Baltimore. Jonathan is tracking the storm, and Larry Collins has some tips to make sure you are prepared if it should come this way, but hopefully not. 7:28 is the time. You're watching Fox 45.